Welcome back to Optometry Unleashed. I'm your host, Dr. Trevor Miranda, and in this episode, we're asking some bold questions around innovation and how business will win in the future. Throughout history, innovation has transformed the way we live and work. From the invention of the wheel to the first computer, today we're riding a new wave of technology, and our world is evolving faster than ever before. No matter what industry we're in, this brings up a critical question. Will we choose to adapt, or will we remain the same? There's a saying that the best way to predict the future is to create it, and no one does this better than my next guest. Shawn Kanungo is a globally recognized innovation strategist, best-selling author, and keynote speaker who's dedicated his life to pushing the boundaries of possibility through innovation. He's previously worked for 12 years at Deloitte, working closely with leaders in innovation across Western Canada. He's been featured in The Guardian, The Globe and Mail, CBC, and CTV. And he's the first innovation expert to have a special streaming on Apple TV and Prime Video. And you can check it out. The special is entitled the same as Shawn's best-selling book, The Bold Ones, a playbook on how to be bolder and push your career and organization forward. Love the book, Shawn. It was amazing. With that being said, let's get started. Welcome to the show, Shawn.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for the introduction, Trevor. I am super excited to be on Optometry Unleashed. I've waited my entire life to be here, and I think I'm just going to retire peacefully now that I'm on here. I actually saw you do this live at I Recommend, and it was such a cool experience to see you host a live podcast on stage with hundreds of people, and I'm just honored to be on.
Hey, condolences about the Oilers.
Wow. I didn't think that you were going to bring this up so early. I mean, it was tragic. I was watching Game 7 with some friends downtown in Edmonton, and the only description that I would have for the loss was people weren't angry. They weren't sad. It was just such a gut punch, and just walking downtown Edmonton after they lost, it was like zombies. It was silent. It's like, imagine tens of thousands of people in silence. It was incredible. I've never witnessed something like that. And it's next year, I guess. I don't know. It's going to take a lot to recover.
You'll be ready to get hurt again next year. I mean, I know I'm a Leaf fan. Like, I moved from Ontario out to the West Coast here, and man, I still am a Leaf fan and just long-suffering Leaf fan. So I feel you. At least you guys won the Stanley Cup.
If the Leafs won, like, what do you think? What do you think? Because how many years? 67? Is this 67
was the last time. Yeah.
Like, what do you think is going to happen in Toronto the day that they win one? I mean, they have to shut the city down for a week.
Yeah, and I think, it's almost like the pilgrimage to Mecca. Like, even people like me will come back to Toronto just to party and celebrate the Leafs winning. It's like, doesn't happen. It's a once-in-a-lifetime potential. Maybe not in my lifetime, which is a bit scary. But, I'm hoping that day is coming, and we're going to go back to Toronto and celebrate. So,
It's been a long haul for you. So,
It totally has. What do you do for sports and stuff, Shawn? What are you doing to keep active?
It's a good question. I used to be very active in terms of playing ball hockey or just sort of doing some intramurals or extracurricular activity with my friends. But, I still try to, work out. I got a trainer. That's really important. Obviously I travel a ton as well, so I try to keep that, within the mix. But to be honest with you, most of my exercise comes from, like, just running around with the kids, just getting involved in what they're doing. Like, I'm trying to just get them involved in whether it's soccer or hockey or football. So we'll throw around the ball, or we'll be in the garage, with the sticks and just play around. So really it's just running around with the kids and trying to get them into sports. We just bought some tennis rackets and just doing whatever we can with them. What about you?
That's super good. Like, I love all sports. I still play. I play hockey during the fall and winter, and even spring, once a week. Beer
Wow.
league. Yeah, so I'm still playing hockey and playing. I like golf. Pickleball is a new thing because we're empty
Yes.
nesters. All three of our kids went out to university back east, and my wife's like, we need to do something together. And then we're playing pickleball together, which is a whole. Basically, we need marriage counseling for pickleball partnership because it's like, oh, you took my ball, you stepped in front of me, and then you did this and that, and it's like you side, therefore you made me feel bad.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
it's a whole thing with pickleball. I'm like, oh my god, I thought we are just trying to hang out together, but yeah, it's interesting.
I've
It's
seen a
fun.
revolution when it comes to pickleball in terms of empty nesters. I think it's incredible sport, and it's easy on the joints. You're still active, and it's really fun to see. Like, just more and more people get into a sport. I've never seen a sport really have this kind of renaissance like pickleball. Like, I'm trying to think about a sport that has really just captured so many people.
Yeah, my kids 20 somethings, they're into pickleball too, which is quite
Yep.
interesting. I mean, I think you've got those seniors who are good. They're good. They'll beat the kids, in
Yeah,
pickleball, and because
absolutely.
they're playing every day. They're out there
Yep.
all like, have my coffee and I go play pickleball for like 2 hours. Two
Yeah.
hours? That seems like a long time. That's almost a golf round.
Totally. There's another sport called paddle,
Oh yeah.
which is I think it's kind of like racquetball, combination of pickleball and racquetball, and that seems to be hot too.
Have you ever played that?
I have not. I only seen it, but my ambition is to get on a court one day.
It seems unhinged to some degree. Like you can run out the side doors. You see
Right.
those?
Right.
You
Yeah.
can
No.
you
No.
can hit it, and you're going so fast you run out the side. I'm
I
like,
love it.
wow, that is great. That's amazing.
I.
You get at it.
My friends and I talk about this all the time, which is, how do you turn one of these sports into really what the NHL, the NFL or the NBA is like? How do you turn something like pickleball, paddle, into ping pong, into like a global phenomenon where people start playing it? It becomes it's on television. We know people's names. Like, we always talk about that.
Yeah, no, I think it's does it entertain you to watch it? I mean, is a big question. Is it entertaining? And I think you mentioned in your book, The Bold Ones, a little bit about video games and now taking the video game and people are now watching it. You're playing video games now, you were watching your buddy playing video games because he only had one controller and you'd have to sit there. I remember those days exactly the
Yeah.
same. You'd have to sit there and wait your turn. I used to do push-ups and stuff in between because
Yeah.
waiting for my turn to play because it would be a long time. But now, my son who's 19, he's watching, YouTube players on YouTube. He's watching, whatever different video game teams in sporting events online that are getting paid professionally. So professional video gamers in a video game league, it's amazing.
This is what I love about innovation, and it's it's actually studying things that you don't understand or studying behaviors that you've never seen before. It's watching people in their basement, in their garages, in their rooms, and finding out what people are passionate about. And this idea that people would watch other people play video games, or also, watch other people stream and just chat for hours on end. To me, still to this day, I don't understand it, but I'm so fascinated by it, and it's a massive business. I mean, if you look at something like streaming today, not only esports but just streaming, like some of the biggest cultural influencers today are from streaming, from Twitch. And I don't understand. It's not a behavior. That's not something I'm into, but that's the world. And I'm just. It's funny. Like the other day, I was getting my car fixed, and the guy from the car dealership was giving me a ride, and we were just chatting. I'm like, "What do you do for fun?" He's like, "Oh, I watch anime streamers." So it's like an avatar of an anime character that's streaming for hours. And I was just so fascinated by, how, when, why, how, and just writing notes because, we're all such unique individuals doing unique things, and it's just fun to find out. I'm just so curious about the world.
I want to take a moment to say thank you to Hoya Vision Canada, our sponsor for this episode. Hoya empowers eye care professionals to achieve their business goals through comprehensive training and regular business reviews. Super High Vision Mirio EX4 is the latest innovative anti-reflection coating that has set new industry standards for clarity and durability. Also, their award-winning myopia management lens, MyoSmart, has sold over 4 million lenses worldwide. To learn more, contact your local Hoya territory manager today and elevate your practice. And now, back to our conversation with Shawn Kanungo. It's amazing. You know, one of the really cool innovations in our business is these Meta Ray-Ban glasses. Have you seen those?
Yes, of course.
You know, it can stream, it can take pictures, it can tell you what you're looking at, even helping low vision patients sort of quote unquote see better because it'll tell them what the glasses are looking at. So you've got this sort of first person perspective that you could potentially stream. Could you teach, you know, your avatar how to see the world like you see it and teach it in real time as you're programming it? And the reason I'm bringing this aspect up is because you've got Kanungo GPT,
Yes.
which I downloaded today, or I started using it, and I asked, you know, what are some good questions to ask Shawn Kanungo on Optometry Unleashed? And I thought it was brilliant. The suggestion. So question one, I'm like, wow, there's a lot there to unpack. I'm like, okay, step one, what is Kanungo GPT?
So Kanungo GPT is a smarter, more intelligent, more knowledgeable, more accurate version of Shawn Kanungo. It is trained on all my speeches, my entire book, podcasts. It's basically it's basically my brain. And the reason why it's smarter is because if you ask me a question, the response that I give back will not only be on Kanungo GPT, but it will give you a more in-depth, meatier answer with more examples. So actually, this podcast is not as good as what you could get on Kanungo GPT. Now, the only thing that Kanungo GPT can't provide is this level of energy and good looks. I mean, at this point, it can't. But, you know, wait 90 days and you'll see what it can do. And the reason why I wanted to put and you know, all, you know, I still keep training it with all my speeches and everything that I learn is because I actually use it all the time. Like I literally, I'm like, what would I say in this particular situation? Because our memories go so far, and it is actually a living version of my brain, and I can just ask it because sometimes I can't just pick up things right away. I mean, it's crazy. We are in a fundamentally different world, but I'm glad that you're using it, Trevor.
That is amazing. My wife would call that narcissism, where your best friend is yourself.
I guess so. I mean,
yes. That's brilliant. Okay, so another question, follow-up question, Shawn. How do you train it? Is that a separate company that you've hired?
No, you can do it within ChatGPT. If you create your own GPT, you can feed it the data, right? And it will, you know, if you keep feeding it data and, you know, cleanse the data and you feed it, it will input it as a, you know, as a data source, and then you can continue to do that over time.
Yeah, my guest Simon Whitfield, when we're talking to him about this, he's the gold medal triathlon winner in the Olympics. He's working with a company on specifically, you know, making avatars and such that can mimic AI-driven speech, and all the content is parsed through, you know, a filters that allow you teach it and it becomes you, you know. So in medical, it's really interesting, you know, because I can't make enough of me. I've got 5 clinics and a lot of people want to ask me my opinion. And so could they ask, you know, avatar Trevor, Dr. Miranda, questions that I've already, it's a trusted source because it's blessed by what I've said previously.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a great idea, and it's great for the past, right? It's great to get an answer that you've already answered. It's not great when it comes to the future. If you ask Kanungo GPT, that's why I will still be relevant, even though the Kanungo GPT is smarter than me. And this is why I say that knowledge is no longer power, that boldness is power. It's this idea that past knowledge is based on past data, and now you can get an AI to do that. But the future is really about you know sensing what's happening, seeing what's happening in the culture, and combining some of those ideas together. So if you ask Kanungo GPT for the most innovative ideas that you can think of how to make $1 billion in the next 2 years, it's not going to give you the best response. But if you ask me that, I'll probably give you a little bit more of a creative or innovative response. And I think that's always going to be the case because humans still have that imagination, that ingenuity, that innovation that the AI can never produce. Although it can produce the greatest knowledge, or it's like it's a great encyclopedia.
Yeah, and I think that you speak of that, the power of the individual now. I know your book, The Bold Ones, it was going to be originally entitled The Dangerous Ones. Tell me about that.
Yeah. So I love the word dangerous. I love the idea of something being dangerous. And the reason why I love the word dangerous is because I believe that by developing your own skills, by becoming more innovative, that you become more dangerous. Meaning you have this opportunity to unlock your own potential. And I thought it was provocative. I thought it was something that people would really just be like, dangerous ones. What does this mean? But then when I went to my publisher with it, my literary agent, my publisher, and I had a meeting, they were like, yeah, the publisher was like, yeah, we threw the dangerous ones idea around with our team, and they don't like it. We need to change it, and we're going to give you some options. And although the book is called The Bold Ones, and this is about being bold and innovative, this was also my first book deal, and I didn't want to throw away the book just because of the name. And ultimately, I use the word bold a ton. I've named many keynotes of mine around the idea of bold. So I love the word bold, and I'm actually happy, in retrospect, like I'm actually happy that we renamed it The Bold Ones, because I think it encapsulates the book really well, the people that we describe really well. And I didn't want to scare away people that might think that the book is for serial killers, to be honest with you. So that's why I started a podcast called Dangerous Ideas, which is the idea of concepts and frameworks that will change your life. And because I still love the word dangerous.
You know what? I like it too. I like the bold ones who take risks, but these risks are calculated. I think in all your examples in the bold ones, you show examples of there's a bit of a fearlessness, and that comes with danger, right? When you take these risks and do great things, and you trust yourself to innovate, to be able to strategically change, to go up against. I mean, I'm thinking of the pirate example in the book, but it's pretty awesome stories, and I hope a lot of these listeners download or get the book The Bold Ones by Shawn Kanungo. So make sure you read that or listen to it. It's a lovely listen. I don't read anymore, which is crazy for an optometrist. I just listen to books. I don't know what's happened, but hey,
nice.
There you go.
Did you listen to the book?
I listened to it.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. So I've been in your brain.
It's your voice. It's narrated by Shawn Kanungo, which is the best, right? If you can actually hear the author tell you the story, it's like, I mean, I didn't do it. It wasn't a bedtime story, but that's cool. Like when we were kids and you'd have the author tell you the story. I think that would be so cool. So I like these audible, listening books. For me, it's pretty awesome. And I could do multiple things at once. I was actually swimming in Lake Cowichan listening to the book. Yeah, on my headphones.
That's incredible. Yeah. Well, listen, I actually enjoyed doing the Audible more than I actually did writing the book. And I just, yeah, I actually had to audition for the Audible version of it, which is crazy because I thought every author is able to, read their own book. But apparently you got to audition. I guess some people are not good at narrating their own book. So I put an amazing audition tape, and then they were like, "Yep, let's go for it." And I had such a good time reading the book that we actually booked 4 days for the studio session, and we did it in 2 days. And the engineer there was like, I've never seen this happen. I'm like, I love this book. I love reading the book. So let's run it back again. So it was awesome. I'm glad that you enjoyed it.
Yeah, thanks. No, you can feel the passion and the fun, and for me, that's important, right? You're listening to somebody who's into it. I think that helps a ton. So no, well done. I'm looking forward to your next book. I'm sure you've got bold ones too coming out sometime.
Yeah, no, I have a couple of ideas in mind. I'm already sort of drafting it up, talking to my literary agent about it. So yeah, stay tuned.
Yeah, good for you. You're doing great things. It's so good. You know what? It's apropos here because the title of our podcast, Optometry Unleashed, is all about being bold. It's all about taking the next step and just going forward and changing. If you look at this is year 30 plus for me as an optometrist, the changes have been amazing, and they're just going to get more and more, faster and faster. And the critical question is, how are we going to adapt? Can you share some of the stories, some examples of unconventional strategies that have been successful in changes that you've heard with the companies you've worked with?
To be honest with you, I think the most transformative ideas come from outside of your industry. Some of the most game-changing ideas will not be within optometry. They will be from other industries that you can steal from. I believe that innovation is about stealing, copying, remixing ideas from everywhere. I mean, if you look throughout history, some of the best ideas are stolen from other industries. If you look at, for example, the Apple Genius Bar, that was stolen from, the Ritz-Carlton. Steve Jobs and Ron Johnson, they sent their teams to the Ritz-Carlton training program, and their people went through there, and then they came back to Ron Johnson and was like, and he was like, "What did you guys learn?" It's like, "Well, we learned that what was really important was the concierge and being able to ask the concierge a whole bunch of different things." And because of the insight around the concierge, that's why they created the Genius Bar, the Apple, and they stole an idea from hospitality. And I believe when it comes to optometry, it's like, what can we steal from the fashion houses, from luxury? What can we steal from customer service from the hotels? What can we steal from, automation when it comes to these tech companies? And so it's taking different pieces of things that are people that organizations are doing well and remixing it and putting that into what we are doing in our businesses. And best way.
And I think it's important to surround yourself with like-minded individuals that want to go forward and want to change. And we hire so many people. What are your suggestions on hiring for that mindset, that sort of change mindset, and creating that change culture within our optometric organizations or whatever business you might be in?
Obviously, one of the things that I love to do is hire for hunger. Not necessarily the skills, not necessarily if they understand how to do the job. I want to know if they are hungry to learn, to experiment, to fail, to challenge the status quo, but also to work with others and to I think that's such a important skill is to I don't know if that's something that you can teach, the ability to be curious and hungry. So that's certainly what I love hiring for. And just finding things that people are passionate about. Like one of my favorite interview questions is just asking like, what if I would take a look at your phone or your Google Chrome history, like what would I find? And I find that by asking that question, you're actually going to get to what they're researching at night, what they're looking on at Reddit, or what they're posting on Instagram. My belief is that if you can connect the things that people are passionate about with the work that they have, then they're going to be fundamentally unstoppable. I'll give you an example of this. When I was hiring a new consultant, I asked her this question. I said, like, what are you passionate about? She's like, I'm really passionate about photography. I actually have a separate Instagram photography page. And I'm like, I took a look at it. She had a great sense of design and aesthetics. We brought her in, immediately put her on some projects related to user design, design thinking, which is a realm that she was not part of, but you could tell that she was really into aesthetics. And because of that, she went on to go to Harvard to study this, went to Google, and she's doing incredibly well as a product designer. And it's just like the ability to connect something that someone's passionate about with the work that we have, and then seeing them off and just like take over the world is like the most beautiful thing in the world. And I just want to do that for the rest of my life.
Yeah, no, I mean, I wonder how you can find that. Like, is there a test we can do where, there's a little tricky little new box that are they going to look under the new box and see if they're, curious, right? That curiosity is what makes it amazing. Are you curious what your patients are thinking? Are you curious how we could do things differently, and what would that mean? So it's talking about disrupting yourself in the bold ones. You talk about that Russell Westbrook trap, and he got into that. Can you just tell me a little bit about the Russell Westbrook trap and how it's important to disrupt yourself?
Yeah, the Russell Westbrook trap is this idea that we get really romantic about our previous successes. We get really romantic about the status that we accumulate. And listen, as a successful, business owner, optometrist like yourself, like it, as you get successful in your particular career, you accumulate things. You accumulate accomplishments and achievements and a standing and a great title and wealth and all this great stuff. And we should, we should appreciate that journey. It's incredible, and we should have a nice dinner and be grateful for all these trophies that we've accumulated. But ultimately, if you want to disrupt yourself, what you have to do is you have to let go of those things that made you successful, because the world is always changing. And the idea of the Russell Westbrook trap is this: Russell Westbrook is a great, actually one of my favorite NBA players of all time. He approaches the game with veracity, with a passion, but when the environment changed in the NBA, when it actually benefited three-point shooters and the game moved away from what made Russell Westbrook successful, he wasn't able to pivot and move and adapt. And because of that, he got traded from team to team to team to team. Even though he was a great player, the environment wasn't suited for him. And it's just this idea of you have to let go of what made you successful so that you can continually pivot and adapt and learn with the new environment that is around us. There's this great quote. It's this passage around the man in the arena. It's the idea that how can you be brave? How can you be bold while still continuing mistakes while everyone is watching us? And it's the idea that you shouldn't listen to the people that are criticizing you. But we focus so much on the man, right? We have a self-development section in Indigo and chapters. We have TED Talks and audiobooks about the man. But we don't have that much information on the arena, which is like the environment that you are in. And the environment today is changing very quickly. So we have to be able to adapt to those different arenas and find those arenas where we can actually continue to strive. And I think that's a conversation that we don't have enough of.
How do you create awareness in recognizing that you're falling into a trap, and how do you break free from the trap?
You know what? It's really easy to fall under that trap. Once you start getting really comfortable, once you start going to the office, going to work, and you're not learning anything new, if you are not curious about what's happening in the world, if you're not listening to the young people that are in your office, if you are someone that is constantly like, oh, I've never heard of that, or I've never, I've never. I mean, it's good to always hear I've never heard of that, but to be to constantly hear about something and not implement it in your business, it's this idea of just resting on your laurels. And I just believe that every individual needs to be able to disrupt themselves, because the world is always changing. And so the ability to disrupt yourself is the idea of constantly learning. It's constantly trying to go down to zero. It's thinking like a rookie again. And it's actively taking shots of how can I try something new. Like, one of the things that I try to ask myself every single day is like, how do I try to get myself fired? Every time I get up and get into the office, that's what I try to say is like, how do I try to get myself fired today? Which is, how do I take a very small risk? How do I take a very small bet that will change my trajectory? It could be as simple as like shooting a moonshot email to a client that I've been waiting to work with. It could be about learning something new. Later on, I'm going to be I'm going to be trying sort of this new technique of this AI piece that this workflow that I've been thinking about, that I'm desperate to work on right after this. And so it's like trying to do something new every single day. And that's the whole idea of trying to get yourself fired every single day. And the reason why I ask that, it's such a provocative question, is because we are so wired. We are so wired to be average. We are so average to not take a shot. We're so wired to just stay in our lane that you need a provocative question like, how do I try to get myself fired, in order to shake you, in order for you to take action. So it's like you almost take the most extreme question in order to get at least a response. And that's why I try to encourage other people to try to get themselves fired. It's just the idea of like taking a bold shot.
No, I love that. Thanks for that. I'm motivated by that, Shawn. I love that. I just keep thinking, what could I do that would just break the mold? What could I do that would be different? And you've given me some ideas there for sure. I think our teams are important on that. The people, getting your team involved. And how do you bring in your team when you're doing brainstorming?
One of the things that I love to do is say, on a bite, every couple of weeks, is to say, what are some crazy things that we can try? What are some crazy things that we can do? Let's just put it on a wall. And it's a democracy in the sense that it's, like most things, will probably not make it. Most things will probably not work, and most things don't work, actually. But it's the idea of constantly pushing ourselves to think boldly, to try things, to put ourselves out there. And it's a to me, it's just an idea of not only showcasing that we can do crazy things, but the more that you can do it, the more that you can flex your muscle around trying things that are a little crazier, then you build the scar tissue. You build the will to be able to do it again, and nothing else sort of phases you. Like, the more that you continue to do hard things, the less you get phased. And I want to just continue to try doing that. And it's just like anybody. Sometimes you can get, really comfortable, but it's just actively releasing that muscle to be like, how do I do this on a weekly or monthly or quarterly basis? Whatever you can do to just be bold. I say daily, but listen, if you can do it as much as you can, that's how I go off and brainstorm.
Yeah, you know what? You spoke about that 10th person in the room that has to be the contrarian to sort of challenge when everybody's on the same wavelength. I like that. We use something called De Bono's 6 hats thinking method, where everybody has to flex their perspective and think positively or negatively or creatively, so that you don't get stuck in one group
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, no, 100%. And that's why it's great to get diverse perspectives, get different viewpoints. I just believe that anybody in the room can come up with the best idea, and the more weird or you know, the more out of left field it can be. Like those are the ideas that we should embrace. It's funny every time I'm in a brainstorming session with a client. What I normally see is that we don't want to look like an idiot in front of other people, and so and that's it's something that we don't talk about, but that's normally what happens when we're in a group of people that in an organization where we're trying. It's all status driven, right? We're trying to respect each other's ideas, and what normally happens is that in these brainstorming sessions, the 10x ideas, the crazy ideas, the bold ideas, they're always on the floor. And what happens is that you're left with the ideas that are average, mediocre, that will probably move the organization 5-10%. And really the 10x ideas are on the floor. And it's part of the reason why we don't want to take those 10x ideas is because we're going to look silly. And we're so optimized for looking, good, or we don't want to rock the boat, that we make those decisions. And so the more that we can embrace those 10x ideas, the more that we can move the needle within our organizations.
Yeah, and it takes a lot of nerve to allow yourself to look silly, to some degree. Do you practice that? Do you go out and embarrass yourself just to get comfortable with being uncomfortable?
The one thing that my kids will know and my friends know is that I'm just, it's just part of my personality. Like I'm a goof, and I'm somebody that is fun loving, and I love to make jokes and just have fun, and whether it's just like, and one of the games that my kids and I play when we're out in public is Truth or Dare. And it's funny, when we first play this is when my kids were like 6 and 3. And so what we would do is we would say truth or dare, and then we would, I would always say dare, because I would always want to, push them to do something a little crazy. And then, they would say, okay, go up to that person and, do a silly dance, or go up to, go over there and moonwalk or something. Like we would just do something that puts us out in the wild to do a dare. And what I noticed with my kids is that the more that we played the game, the more that they were willing to take dares, because not only did they maybe they saw me do it, but they were like, you know what, I should do a dare. Instead of doing truth and saying what my favorite color is, I should do a dare. And the more that they were able to do dares, the more that they became comfortable doing that. And I know it's a stupid analogy, but like to me, that's what I want to do in business. Is like I want to take more daring attempts so that I can inspire myself and the people around me to continue to do silly things. And I think the reason why we don't do silly things in front of other people is because we think people are like thinking about us, but really they're not. They're not thinking about us. And I think one of the things that I love doing too is like I love putting out my ideas in the world. And to be honest with you, I have no idea if those ideas are going to resonate with a broader audience. But I do it because it's a great learning mechanism for me. It's to say, okay, this is what I learned from putting out this particular idea in the world. And maybe it worked and maybe it didn't. And, over time, I've become more comfortable doing that. And it's been the greatest, to be honest with you, it's been the greatest magnet for my life. Like the ability to put out ideas in the world and help people. I can't tell you the amount of connections that you get, the amount of people that come to you by pulling people in through your ideas. So I just want to do that for the rest of my life.
No, I love that. I love that you do that with your kids. We used to do crazy daddy time where we'd break the rules. We'd break the mom rules. We'd
Love
eat
that.
dessert first. We'd foot paint. We'd just do things that mom would not approve of. And now that the kids are older and in university, I think they remember that. They remember that you can challenge the status quo and create a new way of doing things, and it's okay. Mom's going to be sort of okay with it at the end of the day, as long as the sugar
Yeah.
high fades before she gets home with it from her girlfriend's out.
Yeah, we do that. We do that too, the opposite day. So we'll like, we'll have, yeah, do that with the kids too. Like everything that we do is okay. Everything we do today is opposite day, and yeah, it drives my wife crazy. But you got to do it sometimes. Got to show them that um, rules are meant to be broken, and so much of our society, so much of our businesses are trapped by some sort of conventional wisdom and these orthodoxies. And I think one of the best ways of finding innovative ideas is to flip orthodoxies, meaning to flip the elephants in the room, to flip the conventions that we think about our society. And if we can flip them, those are where we can find really interesting or creative ideas.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I was telling you earlier that I have 5 cold starts. I'm going to call them bold starts in honor of Shawn Kanungo's book, the Bold Ones. But every time we start a new practice, you find it's a different arena. It's a different place, and you have to adapt and evolve, and those evolutions come back to the older practice, the established practice, and we introduce these new ways of doing things, and that keeps it fresh. So almost disrupting myself in optometry was opening another practice to be able to like take the new learnings and the new environment, the new arena, as you put it, and bring it back to the old arena and freshen up how we do everything.
When you were opening up your second one, did you have this idea like, I'm just going to copy and paste what we did the first time around and it's going to go swimmingly well?
Yeah, to a large degree. And I mean, as we realize that, you have a little recipe, you think that recipe tastes good, right? It's new. But then after a while, everybody's looking for something different. And what is that different piece, whether it's online bookings or no front desk or some kind of new, innovation that you can actually touch and feel when you first come in. You get to free try this new innovation out. I think there's really cool things that we've added each time and brought back those thoughts. So again, it's a constant, it's almost a maniacal passion to just being, intensely involved in what's going to happen, how we can make it better. How can we impress the heck out of every single
Love
person?
that.
I know you speak about that in your book, and that really spoke to me, Shawn. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that one fan that you're just going to make them. It's going to be amazing. I actually took that idea, and in my last staff meeting, I brought it back, and I said, if you can just, I don't care what you do or how much it really costs. I mean, don't make it cost too much. But
Yep.
if you can just impress the heck out of a patient and do something that they would never expect, that would just be amazing to them, that they'll never forget, I want you to let me know what that is. And let's see if we can, tell a story around that. Tell us a little bit about that from the Bold Ones.
There's this desire for every business, for every organization to please the masses. But when you try to please everyone, what you're ultimately doing is you're actually pleasing the average, right? And because of that, you come up with average ideas and mediocre ideas to please the average. The idea of One True Fan is being able to over deliver on those expectations. It's to delight. It's to please. It's to make something meaningful and magical and memorable for that one person. And what you will find is that not only will you be able to find other people that want that same experience, but at the same time, that person is going to go to somebody else and talk about their experience, and you're going to be more fulfilled as a business owner, as an individual as well. So I think if we can treat every patient, if we can treat every client as like, this is my only patient, this is my only client, and really, make their experience incredible, you're going to create this momentum. You're going to create this flywheel within your organization where people are going to talk about what you're doing. They're going to talk about, the benefits that they're getting. And it's a great marketing engine.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, all the pieces that you can bring to the table when you're starting again and trying to create something new and amazing. There's a book that I have my team read. It's called Raving Fans, Shawn, to
Yep.
your point about from Ken Blanchard. If anybody's listening and wants to read that book, it's a quick read. And if you have team members and you want them to try to make that piece memorable, I know one of my patients, Shawn, I'll tell you a quick story. One of my patients, she was getting a dry eye treatment, which is a pretty new area in optometry where we treat dry eyes and almost aesthetics as well. And it becomes almost like a spa-like experience. And she's getting this treatment and going, wow, it just feels so good. This is amazing. I just need a mimosa. And then I remember that the next time we did her dry eye treatment, my director of wellness and experience brought her a mimosa, and she was
Love
just
that.
over the moon. She's in the weight room, in the lobby there, sipping her mimosa, and one of the other patients looks over and is that a drink you have there? And she's like, no, it's juice. But so cool because those things not only will that patient remember that forever, but our team remembers that. They remember delighting that patient, and they want to do it again. It's it's a drug almost. It makes you feel great that you've really impressed the heck out of that, and you want to just do it again and again.
Yeah, I believe in this idea of costly signaling, which is this idea that by putting in extraordinary effort, it can actually result in greater trust and meaning and significance to your end client, customer, patient, whoever it might be. And it's going above and beyond, and it's showing up as if this was your one true fan. It's showing up with effort, and the more that you can show up with effort, the more trust you're going to develop at the end of the day. As a simple example, one of the things that I did during the pandemic was I'm in the content business, so obviously during the pandemic, like everybody was creating like Zoom presentations and Zoom content. And we decided to rent out theaters during the entire pandemic, starting from April 2020 to 2022. I mean, even to this day in 2024, which is like renting out theaters, putting out high production quality interviews, and maybe one person will watch it. But it's this idea that by putting in extraordinary effort for the audience, it actually shows that you care. You care about the production. You care about how you're perceived, and it will just translate. And so I try to reinforce this with everything that I do, which is and everybody that I work with, which is like show up like you care, and show up with an incredible amount of effort. And honestly, people recognize it. People will see it.
Yeah, no, we definitely can feel it from you, Shawn. It's amazing. I love it. Motivational for me, which is great. I just want to pivot to a little bit about the impact of AI, and I know you've spoken about a lot of this AI, generative AI, and I just wondered in the aspect of optometry, what do you foresee generative AI transforming the healthcare sector, specifically optometry, if you can?
I think it's going to change everything. A lot of people say that generative AI is overhyped. I think it's incredibly, incredibly underhyped. I don't think we've even started to figure out all the possibilities and opportunities around this particular space. It keeps improving every single day. I wake up I am not joking with you, Trevor. I wake up and I just get excited for the possibilities and what businesses can do. Like I'm doing this session tomorrow with this company, a small business, and just they sent me their list of problems that they have within their firm around coordination, onboarding, invoicing, accounting, marketing, and just to show them examples of what AI can do today. So I'll give you an example. To me, the best large language model today, the best LLM today, I don't know when this is getting recorded. This is going to be published, but today it's changing every single day. Today, the best LLM today is Claude. It's their platform from Anthropic. It's called Sonnet, and what you can do with Sonnet is incredible. You can basically create interactive web apps to visualize, to prototype almost anything. I'll give you a simple example of this. I put in all the contracts that I have for my clients into Claude, and I just told it, hey, can you create an invoice for all these different contracts, these 60 different contracts, and then I showed it an invoice that I typically create, and it just created all those invoices. You can give it an instruction of what you do today, and you can throw in some information, and it will help come up with some of those things. So when it comes to finance, when it comes to marketing, today you can generate almost any image and recreate it using tools like Midjourney. When it comes to whether it's content creation, when it comes to automation and sending reminders and personalize the experience for your customers. I mean, we are on the brink of a revolution here. And my problem is that people think that this is like this is a fad, or I don't think people understand the impact that AI can make today, and imagine what it can do in the next 6 months. And my biggest advice is you need to start experimenting, playing, and being involved in this as much as you can. Because if somebody came up to you in 1994 and was like, this internet thing, I think it's going to be impactful, I think it's going to change everything, what would you do in 1994? I don't know. Most people would be like, yeah, sure, yeah, whatever. And then you see what it's done over the last, number of decades. It's completely changed the world. This is going to be the internet times 10. So, buckle up and start experimenting and playing, because it's here.
You know what? I think it's important that you talk about creating sparks, and innovating. And as optometrists, we have the opportunity to test things. We could test things on every patient, really. Does this work? Could we try this? Could we do this? And I think sometimes we don't do that enough, And I wonder what you personally, Shawn, do to create the sparks in your own mind. Do you take a walk? Do you spend thinking time? How do you encourage that spark creation?
I think the most dangerous thing that you can do is give someone time today, because the time to think, and I'm not saying time to be on your phone or time to be on Netflix or the time to think, the time to take a walk, to just explore and play. One of the things that I write in my book is about this idea of engineering your hot streak. And there's a great research team led by an individual named Deshun Wang. What he and his team did was they put together this. They want to answer this one question, which is, why are some people so prolific and so innovative during a short period of time? Like, what makes them so unique and prolific and innovative? So what they did was they researched thousands of different creatives and geniuses and inventors and innovators throughout history over a very long time span. And what the research discovered, which is super fascinating, is that the main insight was that every single innovator, every single disruptor, their background was this: they spent years wasting their time. They spent years exploring, finding out their skills, getting into different domains, just like walking through the abyss and just trying stuff. And then at some point they exploited. They took their gifts, their talents, their skills, their knowledge, and then at some point they put it all together and exploited. And so if you want to have a career renaissance, if you want to be more innovative, you have to go through this period of exploration, about thinking, trying things, experimenting, and then putting it all together. And I think when it comes to this AI space, it's just like, try new tools. Just experiment, put some things in there. And that's why I think having time today is dangerous, because it's going to make you more dangerous as an individual. How do you unlock your own skills, your own potential? And that's what I hope for everyone. That's why I wrote the book, is I want people to become more dangerous at the end of the day.
It's so important. If you're on that treadmill of life, and as optometrists, you can easily do that. You're juggling you're wearing the marketing hat, you're doing all these other pieces, and you're not giving enough time to, disrupting yourself and thinking about the future.
I'm curious about you because you obviously you're a father, you have busy practices. Um, how are you, making time for yourself to explore or think? I mean, you're just always on the go.
Yeah, I know. I think that thinking time, for me, it's walking my dog. It sounds crazy, but sometimes it just something gets you, and you think I should do that. It's almost your self talk to yourself is just encouraging yourself to do something different. I find that walking my dog helps me a lot on that way, and I think carving out that time to think and having your whole team realize that that thinking part of how we're going to create the future is important. So it's creating it's the whole team concept around that. I've got a great team. We can delegate. I'm trying to utilize technology as much as we possibly can, and nothing is off the table to change. If we're not selling glasses in the future, that's okay. We're still going to thrive and be great. I always think I'm back to zero anyway. When we start a new practice, we're starting from zero. We're going to recreate an amazing place to be, to come to get your eyes checked, or just to come. And I want to give I've seen you wear glasses, some cool glasses there, Shawn. I just wondered, what would your perspective be on what do you think optometrists, if we're just going to brainstorm here, just visualize potentially the future, what would you like to see happen? It doesn't have to be actually eye related, maybe it does, but what would happen in your ideal world if you walked into an optometrist's office in the future? What would happen? What would you like to see happen? What could you imagine happening?
Oh man, I love this question. I love this question. I love this question. Um, I believe that the industry that you are in, that everybody that's listening to this podcast is in, is it is one of the most important industries on the planet. Your eyes, in my opinion, are your most important asset. You could say the heart, the brain. I think it's your eyes, to be honest with you, and just the ability to see, to visualize, is incredible. And the one thing that I believe that uh, the clinics have not really done a great job of is actually creating that experience for a customer. Um, I what I would love is I would love to to go to a clinic and feel like it's like a relaxing experience, a hotel lounge experience, having a concierge come. When I'm trying on glasses, I would love to get inspiration from who else is wearing this, where else have they seen this, like put this in different combinations in terms of fashion. Just having that inspiration around me, because you have all these glasses put out and I don't know. Yeah, I can sense of how this looks on me, but I want to see how this looks on other people. I want to see how I can look good in this in different outfits. And I think there's an entire experience there where we can inspire more people when it comes to wearing glasses. And one thing that I mentioned at the last keynote in Kelowna for I Recommend was I think actually the biggest opportunity that's in plain sight with the eyewear industry is that in every other industry, especially when it comes to luxury goods, people have multiple watches, people have multiple footwear, people have this and that, yet people only have one pair of glasses. Like that's the thing that people are looking at the most, and yet so I don't think we've done a good job at inspiring people to say this is not only a utility for you to see better. This is a part of your identity. This is what and that's what footwear does. That's what watches does. That's what fashion does. And I don't think that we've done a great job at inspiring more people to say, this is part of your identity. This can represent who you are. And playing more in that fashion realm is such a opportunity. And, from the health side, I think just the ability to understand the analytics, to understand how your eyes are doing comparatively to other people within my age group or, my ethnicity. Obviously, genetics is a big part of it. Just to see where I'm at and to have a better perspective of the health score right, of my eyes, and understanding how can I make this better? Like, I'm an athlete. Like, how do I make this better? What can I do? What's the training? What's the recommendations that I can have to make it better? And so, those are things that I'm thinking about, but I love thinking about reinventing it. And by the way, I bring this up to most optometrists that I meet, and the reality is that I totally understand that the economics of the industry are not always in your favor, right? There's insurance, there's government, right? The margins can be slim. You're working with manufacturers that may not be able to provide the best margins as well, and so there are some limitations there. But my advice is, like, how can we start from zero? Like, think about your practice today and go back to zero. I call this the zero principle mindset. It's the idea that assume nothing about your business other than all the tools and technologies that you know about the world, and how would you rebuild your business from today? And I think that's an incredible exercise, because what it's going to force you to do is not to take a linear approach, but really to take an exponential approach, which is, how do I make something 10x better, having no sort of limitations or barriers in front of me? And I think that's a powerful exercise that I think everybody should take. I'm just curious from your vantage point. You can comment on what I said, but like comment on what I said. What's your perspective? It might be too radical, it might be too bold, but let me know what you're thinking.
No, not at all. I get super excited listening to that. Okay, I'll give you an example of one of the things that we've done. We do it like an eyelash cleaning as part of your eye exam. And also what we do is we take pictures before and after of your eyelashes. And any optometrist listening, they'll know that eyelashes are kind of gross. There's mites that live in there, and we can image them, and we can show you how we can take them on and off. We can clean them off your eyelashes
right?
in real time. And not only that, it feels good immediately. It's like moisturizer on your skin feels good immediately. This cleaning of your eyelashes, we call it hygiene, okay? It feels good immediately, and it has, downstream effects for the health of your eyes, less infections and things like that. But it feels good. So that sort of, see well, feel good mantra is something that we're looking towards. And also one of my little key, lines I tell my patient is, I'm not looking about your vision today. I'm looking at the future health of your eyes. And I show them imaging on how I'm analyzing scanning technology different at the cellular level for different aspects of their eyes in the future. And my role as an optometrist is to protect the future of their vision, not just today. So I think those pieces and how we're going to swing technology for that is awesome. I love the idea of taking you, coming in, and then somehow projecting the future you in different glasses. So you start watching a film of yourself in these various aspects. Maybe we can, touch up things. We can change your hairstyle and your glasses in real time. I mean, I think these cool things, that experiential things that you come in and every time it's new. So, part of, we sort of outgrew the market in my area. I didn't think I was going to have 5 practices. We just grew double digits for 30 years. And I had to actually physically make different locations because of that. But part of that was making it new every time and exciting to come in. What are we going to have this time? Is it a new technology? Is it a new way of doing things? And I think, as you said, we have to always do that every time. So your ideas, make me just get me super excited.
So I want to ask a question when it comes to, like, when a customer comes and picks the glasses that they want. Does a customer truly know what they want? And there's this concept by a great philosopher and historian. His name is Rene Girard. It's this idea of mimetic desire. It's the idea that as human beings, we don't come up with our own desires, that we're imitating the desires of other people. It's the idea that we are actually wanting what other people want. It's the idea that we actually don't have our own model of what we want, but we're wanting to become someone else, right? And so when we think about what we want, or what we look good in, do we really have a clear indication of that, or are we just getting inspired by other people that are wearing these glasses, whether it's influencers or whether it's people that we're seeing in a similar style? Like, how do we truly know? And so if if the idea of mimetic desire is true, it's the idea that we don't come up with our own desires, that we just imitate the desires of others. To me, the opportunity is, how do we inspire more of our customers? How do we inspire them with different ideas of how they could look good in, what they could, buy, and different things that they could like? That's our job, is to help fuel that mimetic desire in a way. And I just think that we haven't done a good job. It's funny, like when you go to a optometry, and I'll put on the glasses, and the people that are working there, they'll be like, "Oh my God, that looks so good! Like, I just saw someone else wear that, blah blah." And you now are thinking to yourself, actually, I think this does look good. And then you go home to your wife and be like, actually, the woman told me that someone else, like, one of these people, they were wearing it, that looks good. And it's like, you're building a model, you're building your own story, you're building your own narrative of what looks good. But factually, do you really look good? I don't know. You know what I mean? It's really wild.
No, it's aspirational, right, Shawn? I mean, I think what happens when you try on glasses, and this is an important piece, I think, to anybody that's in the industry helping patients or clients try on glasses, is, hey, listen, it's about what you want to be, what you want to project. And I think getting to that discussion, and then there's a trust level. So if you were dressed by, the biggest designer in the world, you're going to be like so feeling special because this designer is dressing you, in an amazing way. And I think that's with our opticians and eyewear consultants, we need to, get that feeling across where we're going to dress you. We're going to show you some great styles and what looks good. So a patient might pull off a pair of glasses, put them on, and I'll just take them off there. And I'm like, no, let's look at how we can dress you. And I think that's the piece, because when you're dressed well, you feel good, right?
Yep.
You feel better about yourself. And I think it's the feeling we're trying to get across when you're trying on glasses. And that goes across every aspect of fashion and utility out there. But in our offices, we really concentrate on that interaction piece. We don't really let patients go wild on their glasses themselves and try on everything. We kind of guide them.
Yeah.
So that guided experience, and you have to build trust, and you have to understand the motivations of your patient. So there may be a fashionista that comes in and they're like, I don't need any help. I'm just going to dress myself and I'm confident. And you have to respect that, right? But, you have to just feel it out and make sure you know what kind of patient you're dealing with. We actually personality profile our patients, believe it or not, so we can interact with them in the optimized way that we think is best. So, I mean, yeah, you're spilling the gospel there for me, Shawn, by the way you're sort of trying to customize that interaction, aspirationally allow that patient to view what their future self is being better.
Yeah. And it's a hard role to fill for an optician. In fact, optometry is a funny business, right? Because your job is to protect one of the most important assets of a human being, which is their eyes. And then on the flip side, then you have to sell these luxury products these products, and the idea of health and fashion. I don't know if there's any other industry that puts those things together like you guys do. And so it is an incredibly difficult skill to be able to both be health centered and also focused on fashion at the same time. And so the effort that the opticians and the staff have to have in terms of the effort in terms of training and knowledge and customer service and studying, what does this brand represent? It's an incredible amount of knowledge, and those that actually put in the effort to have that knowledge and to be able to translate that and inspire their customers and their patients, those are the ones that are going to win in the future.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think that's great. And, there's industry partners that can help us with that, Sean, help us
Yep.
learn the product, learn who's wearing that, what are the fashion trends. And I think it's important that we're always studying and learning. I want to pivot back to your upbringing. We share similar upbringing characteristics, actually. You grew up in Edmonton, son of immigrant parents, and you talk to about it in the bold ones in your book about what will people say, and I
Yeah.
love that, and I think that's interesting. I want to tell you a story about that, but I want to hear your perspective on what will people say and how that affected you growing up.
This line, "What will people say?" I believe has like destroyed an entire generation. Truly, I really believe that it has, because it has prevented so many people from doing what they truly love, or doing something creative, or doing something that's outside of the box. And I believe that we have trained an entire society to work on an assembly line. I'm not saying the actual assembly line. I'm saying doing something that everyone else is doing. And I've been trying to push against this idea of what will people say throughout my entire life, and I still here to this day. I mean, God bless my mother. She's been retired for the last 2 decades, but like I still hear to this day around what you're trying this. What will the community say? What will people say? And I've been trying to push back against this my entire life. And that's the reason why I got into this innovation space. That's the reason why I got on. I wrote the book, The Bold Ones. In fact, if you go to my high school yearbook, I had this quote, and this is, I've been trying to push back against my entire life, and my quote was that the greatest pleasure in life is doing what people say you cannot do. And the reason why I wrote that at the time was because I remember my parents were on me about doing something creative. I was like the class historian, and they were like, "You're spending so much time on that." But when I actually went off and became the class historian, they they were happy and they were proud. And it was this idea that, like, there's going to be people around you that will prevent you from doing something that's bold or creative or innovative, but you just have to follow your gut and continue to do something that is, if you feel that you can do something that's different and unique and bold, that you should go off and do that, instead of going back to what your parents say or society says or your friends say or your family. Just pursue what you are meant to do on this planet. But I'd love to hear from you, and your reflection on this idea of what will people say.
No, it was a a two-sided edge there. I would say, because the same thing. The parents would be, hey, like, you've got to watch what you do. Make sure what will people say if you go out and do something bad. And it was interesting because the flip side was, my dad would brew his own wine or and things like that, and he would be dumpster diving, getting bottles, and I'd be like, oh, "Pops, what will people say? You're dumpster diving,"
That's
So we
hilarious.
we threw it back to them, which is quite interesting. But I think that probably holds back a lot of people right now on everything. Is that sort of peer influence? They want to fit in. They're scared of the repercussions of being different and doing something bold. And I think that's probably a societal issue to some degree. Is, hey, you know what? What will people say when you do something amazing? That's the real question. It's not what will people say because you did this. It's, to your point, what will they say? They'll be so proud of you, Sean, of how you've
Exactly.
done an amazing, built this media empire and just innovating and wrote a book. I mean, who can say that they wrote a book? So that's pretty incredible. And I'm proud of you. It's really good to hear that all the cool things that you've done. And I think that's what people will say is because you've been bold and you took a chance and you did things like writing your own book. So I think it's just a little bit of a twist. What will
Yep,
people
I love
say
that.
when you do something amazing? Is just a different mindset.
Yep, I fundamentally believe that that's a great way to flip it and to embrace the idea of what will people say in the positive sense. And I think the reality is that the reason why people don't want to do something that's bold or innovative or creative or put themselves out there is because they're afraid that what people will say about them. And the reality is that no one is really paying attention to you. Like, no one is thinking about you. So, and I think this is incredibly inspiring, actually. The idea that no one is actually thinking about you is actually incredibly inspiring, because what it allows you to do is it allows you to take the shot. No one's waiting for you to do something. Like, people are so focused on themselves that they are not thinking about you at all. And so I think this is incredibly inspiring, and it should give us the motivation to be like, yeah, let me try something, because no one is at home thinking about me. Like, they're not. You're a speck.
No, exactly. When I was in high school, it was patches. People were wearing patches, so I told my grandmother at the time, like, I want my jeans to have patches on it. So God bless her, she made patches with jeans, but they were like all different colors, and it just I wore it to school, and my nickname for the next couple of weeks was Patches, which. But it's funny because just wearing it and being bold, and I just said, you know
Yeah.
what, I'm just gonna wear it. My siblings are like, you can't wear those jeans. I just did it, and you get respect from that, from innovating and doing something different. How crazy or whatever it is, it doesn't matter. It's pretty awesome to do something different. You stand out. Vegas is a good example of that. You could just do anything, and it seems normal in Vegas. Why can't it be a little bit normal here and do something different that just is incredibly unexpected? I think is kind of a neat opportunity every day that we have. Do something unexpected.
It's interesting that you say Vegas. I was there a couple weekends ago, and my wife she was like figuring out her outfits for the evening, and she wore something that she would never wear in Edmonton. Why don't you wear this in Edmonton? She's like, it's Vegas. People don't care what you look like. You just go out there. I'm like, we need more of that energy everywhere. It's like, by the way, no one cares what you're wearing anywhere. So
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I know you're fascinated with people and how they think, and that relentless focus that you can help you achieve what others think is impossible. So, what are strategies to maintain focus in this world full of distractions? My kids, and my second daughter's going to med school. One's in optometry. They're focused, but they're still distracted by their they're on their screens and they're looking at reels. And what are your thoughts about that?
I mean, I am not perfect either. Like, I love consuming content. I love consuming news. I am just a naturally curious person, so I'm constantly trying to figure out, like, what's in the culture, what are people talking about, what are people doing in their basement, in their garages. I think that's the greatest way to find innovations, is by finding things that people are passionate about. So I'm probably a on the highest spectrum of, like, content consumers. But I think one of the things that I do try to do is take those times to really decompress, and not be on my devices, not be on my phones, whether it's having this notebook that is, like, tattered. If you can't see this is like a notebook that I have, and writing your ideas down there, going for a long drive with nothing on and just thinking. Those are some things that will bring you focus. And I think, like last night, I need to get something done, and I literally put my phone in a different room, and I locked the room, and I didn't go to my phone until I was done my project. And simple things like that, to be like, I just need to focus, and I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do the same thing after this podcast is over, because I know I got to get something done, and I'm just gonna put it away, right? No distractions. I believe the superpower is the ability to focus, and I feel bad for the kids that are growing up, and I don't know what's gonna happen with my kids. I got my kids are 7, 5, and 1. It's just, the world is so, everything is trying to take our attention. Listen, I'm trying to take your attention. As somebody that creates content, I'm trying to take your attention too. And the superpower is really being able to focus in on something and not get distracted. And yeah, I don't have a best response. It's like, you just have to be deliberate about putting it away.
Oh no, I love that. I mean, I think you could be distracted at times and then be focused at times. Can you do the? Can you switch? Or has your mind been so scrambled by being distracted that you can never be focused? I mean, that's a question for the future, I think. But if you can demonstrate the ability to focus at times, deeply focus, I mean, I think that's okay to be you know, squirrely distracted, which is, I frankly, a lot of people say that I am, I'm intrigued by different things all at once, and I could switch to something that's interesting. And, it sounds discombobulated in a lot of ways, but I can also hyper focus.
So my superpower, by the way, I have one superpower on the planet. My superpower is that I have this incredible ability to work on a plane. Like I cannot work in the office. I can't work at home. I can't work any you get me on a plane and I will solve the world's problems. I could be the prime minister, but only on the plane. Like get me on a long flight to Europe, to Asia, and I will just accomplish so much. And I think it's the idea that you're like strapped in to this chair. You can't go anywhere. And the only thing that you can do is put out your laptop and just get something done. And I've just done so much while being on the plane. Actually, a big part of the book was written on the plane, and that's my only superpower.
That's so interesting because my superpower is to fall asleep immediately on a plane. So it's it's the exact opposite.
Well, you know what? It's funny. It's a blessing. This is what happens on the plane. I'm a sicko too. I see other people that are not working on the plane, and I think that I'm getting ahead. But on the flip side, people look at me working on a plane while they're relaxing, sleeping, or watching a piece of content, and they look at me and they're like, "What kind of crappy job does this guy have?" So hey, it goes both ways.
Yeah, that's hilarious. That's amazing. What would be your vice? Instagram, TikTok, cat videos.
Wow. I love X. Like I love Twitter because I think it's a great place to learn. It's the place that breaks culture, and I just love seeing what's happening now. Like that's something that maybe I've always wanted to be or do is is just be part of the media in some sort of way. And that's why when I do my keynotes, I always incorporate things that happen the day of or yesterday, and just trying to blend the elements of innovation and creativity and culture and bring that to an audience. I think that's in respect to the audience to say this is relevant, this is hitting, this is how can how can this be something that's not something that has happened 20 years ago or a couple of years ago. I want to make sure that somebody understands that this is like fresh. And so yeah, I try to do that as much as I can.
Are you tempted to invest in some of these innovative strategies that some of these companies that you're advising them on? Do you ever say, come on board and work with us on an ongoing basis?
So absolutely. I have taken equity, small equity stakes in companies that I've worked with in order to help fuel them move forward. But ultimately, what I've realized over the last couple of years is that what I really want to focus in is making the biggest impact that I can on a broader scale. And I think the best way that I can do that is doing things like this, which is being on a podcast, doing a talk, putting out videos, putting out a special, doing more media and entertainment. Like my mission is to help individuals become bolder. And the more that people can get inspired by this idea and understand that the individual has more power than ever before, then that means I've done my job. And the best way to do that is by putting out content and getting that message heard, and trying to do that the fastest and easiest and the most efficient way possible. And so that's what I've really sort of learned over the last couple of years, is just like being very focused on that particular mission. And I just want to continue to do that.
No, I love that, and you're super inspirational there. I know you talk about bringing the F word back, and that's friction. How do we do that in our day-to-day world? How do we bring that sort of feeling that you're going to challenge the status quo and bring some friction? Tell me about that word.
Oh, yeah. So to give you some context, um, I believe that we live in a frictionless world today, right? Everything is 24/7 on demand, seamless, transactional. You can order food off your app and never interact with anybody. You can order stuff on Amazon and not interact with anybody. Like, the world has become super frictionless. You don't even have to leave your house, okay? You just go on Zoom, do all your work, not talk to a single soul. It's become frictionless. And in a world that's AI driven, in a world that's more digital, I believe that where we're going to get disproportionate value is by doubling down what I call friction, which is, how do we double down on humanity? How do we make things more meaningful and magical and memorable and awe-inspiring, and double down on that humanity? And that means, like, looking someone in the eye, having a deep, intimate, long conversation with somebody, going out for beers with somebody. We go back to this effort around, this conversation around showing effort with our clients and our customers and our patients. And that's what I mean by friction. It's like slowing things down. It's introducing humanity. I believe that there's actually going to be two types of organizations in the future. There's going to be companies that are extremely fast and efficient and seamless. Companies like Amazon and Temu and Shein, like they'll just get you something fast. And that's great. They are going to win because of that. They're creating value through there. And there's going to be companies that are extremely human. Like, when you go to the Four Seasons, it's like there's a great customer service. They look you in the eye. It's craftsmanship. Luxury companies like LVMH or Hermes, where it's like, it's craftsmanship. It's well done. It takes a long time to buy something. These are the two types of companies that are going to win the future. But you don't want to be in the black hole of mediocrity, which is in the middle. You don't want to be not as human, not as fast. You don't want to be in the middle, because I think that's going to be very dangerous. So I just believe that in a digital world, AI world, that we need more humanity.
No, 100%. It's kicking it old school, but I'll often phone my patients, after a surgery or after, follow up, and they get my voice. I'm gonna phone you in a couple days, and I'm gonna talk to you. And that humanity, that piece, instead of texting them or sending an email or just, myself, I'm gonna phone them. It just takes a couple minutes, but it actually delights them, and they get that personal connection. They know that I'm their eye doctor, and that personal connection, I think, is very long lasting, and we can't forget the power of the individual on that person's life. And like you say, eye care is super important to everybody, and that's a way of imprinting that on each and every patient, that they have us, the guardians of their eyes.
Yeah, 100%. And I think we have forgotten that, in a way, like that skill set to waste time, the skill set to have a deep, meaningful, long conversation with others, the skill set to look someone in the eye, to hold someone's hand. We've lost that, but I think because of COVID and digital. But I truly believe that in the future, those companies that can do that and make things extra human will be extremely profitable. Like, I think that they're going to extract tons of value by doing that.
Yeah, we're going to have to bring that AI touch with that human touch,
Yeah.
and merge those genres together, and create a whole new experience that is amazing. So, as we wrap up here, Shawn, I want to ask, what you think our listeners should look out for you. What are projects that you're looking towards after the Bold Ones has come out now?
Yeah, so like I said, I'm really passionate about content and putting that out there. So we're working on a couple different media projects, documentary. We're working on that pilot soon. We're working on a show as well. And so these are things that they're bold ideas that we're working on. We're also doing a bit of a tour across Canada. These are small sort of mini pop-ups that we're doing, which is not about content related to a particular client, but this is content. This is like the Shawn Kanungo content, and it's very unique to culture and technology and things that I love. And so we're going to be going across the country, doing these pop-ups and shooting that. So there's going to be more information on my social media coming very soon. And yeah, just like we started a podcast, we are writing another book. So there's other things, but it's all around this idea of making this impact in the world and getting people to be bolder. That's what we're zeroed in on. So yeah.
It's amazing. And we can interact with you online. You've got Instagram, LinkedIn. What do you think the best ways for optometrists, let's say, to interact with Shawn Kanungo's world?
Number one, Kanungo GPT. Okay, do not ask me any questions. Just go to Kanungo GPT first if you can't get your answer. But no, I
love that.
Yeah, I'm everywhere. LinkedIn is great. Instagram is great. Facebook, YouTube is great. Subscribe, put a comment in. You can get some long form content there. So wherever actually best suits you, I will be there.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's a great answer. That's the best. So I know you're going to join us at NTE at I Recommend's event at Blue Mountain. So I'll be there as well. I'm looking forward to seeing you again, and want to thank you for joining us on Optometry Unleashed. Shawn, really it epitomizes what we're trying to do here at Optometry Unleashed is unleash the potential, change the world, do something different, be amazing, be the best you can, and reinvent what optometry is going to be in the future. So you're helping motivate us, and you're right there training us with us, and love your insights. And I think it's just going to be super exciting to interact with you as we go forward. So thank you for this.
Well, it's an honor. It's a privilege to be on here. And by the way, if you've gotten this far in this podcast, rate, review, subscribe, whatever you got to do. This entire team is putting in the work. And listen, let's do this again. Episode 500. I want to get the invite back for Optometry Unleashed. And can't wait to do this again.
Yeah, we'll have you back, and we'll have Kanungo GPT as well. We'll have a panel discussion, and we'll see how that goes. Have a little debate off with Shawn and his avatar replica.
Love that.
Thank you so much, Shawn. Really appreciate it. Thanks, everybody, for listening to Optometry Unleashed. And as Shawn said, if you can subscribe, give us a 5-star review, we'd love it. If you have any suggestions for guests, feed it to us. And until next time, this is Trevor Miranda. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you for joining us on Optometry Unleashed. If you like the show or find the content we provide valuable, please hit the follow button on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. It's a great way to support our work at zero cost to you. You can also leave us a review of up to 5 stars on both Spotify and Apple Podcasts. If you have any questions for me, comments about the podcast, or guests you would like us to consider, please leave us a comment on Spotify or Apple Podcasts with your feedback. Our team reviews all the comments we receive on the show to guide us in providing better content for our listeners. And thank you again to Hoya Vision Canada for being a proud sponsor of our podcast.